Hi folks, this is Dr. Rob Cywes. I am the Carb Addiction Doc. And today, as my shirt says, we're going to talk about bridges. Bridges. Now, don't switch off yet. Listen to what a bridge is. But bridges are critical to metabolic health. And in fact, I've used the two words here. So just to explain the shirt that I'm wearing, from time to time, my viewers, folks that are following us, folks that we've helped, sometimes they'll drop $1 or $2 on our Patreon account or preferably on our PayPal account. But sometimes they send us things. And I've had artwork that people have produced as part of their mental health. I love my bags of coffee. I'm hugely into dark bold coffee, so I get those packs a lot. But this particular shirt was sent to me by a patient, by one of my viewers who's also a patient of mine, and she hears me speak very often in my talks about things that are critical in addiction management. And today we're going to talk about bridges. And a bridge, as you know, is something that gets you across a problematic area, whether it's a river or a space on a rock, but a bridge on a journey is something that gets you across a tough area. And that's the practicality of a bridge. However, in the addiction world, in the carb addiction world, in the eating and the drinking, mental health, substance abuse era, we use the bridge as just like we do with regular bridges, as a safe way to cross a moment where you can do yourself harm. Now, what do I mean by bridge? So the way the human brain works is the human brain can focus, and you can test this for yourself. The human brain can focus intensely for anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, rarely longer. It's usually that ballpark. And as we focus and we concentrate on something, dopamine builds up in our brain cells. So it's a substance that helps us to focus. And then it reaches a critical point where we begin to lose focus. And then we need a serotonin release to dissipate that dopamine so that we can refocus. So throughout the day, our brain's kind of doing this if we're focusing optimally. And if you're a school teacher, you know, if you've got a 45-minute or a 40-minute class, you're going to give those kids a break at about 20 minutes to get up and stretch. Oh, that right there is a bridge. I talk a lot with my hands. That offsets against that anxiety. Those are all little quirks. Now, let's flip this around and look at addiction. Nobody smokes 20 cigarettes at one time. It's a puff here, a puff there, and by the end of the day, it's 20 cigarettes. What's that person doing? They're using nicotine in the cigarette and the act of smoking. Their little rituals, their little routines, their little quirks of how they light up the cigarette, their lighter, that entire little religious experience almost of smoking a cigarette or having a vape is what I call an MCM, a mind cleansing moment. It's that serotonin relief that we get throughout the day. However, obviously, smoking and the act of smoking is harmful on the back end. While it's hugely beneficial for that little mind cleansing moment, that little endorphin experience that helps us to deal with impending or building emotional tension. When you're puffing on that cigarette throughout the day, that becomes cumulatively problematic. But every human being, folks, every human being can be defined by the dominant thing that we do for those little mind cleansing moments. As I said, I talk a lot with my hands. A large part of carbohydrate addiction is to change what we do for that mind cleansing moment, acknowledging that we have to have that mind cleansing moment, and preferably we want to be in charge of what it is. If your brain's in charge of it and you're in the passenger seat of this journey, it's going to do something harmful. But if you're in the driver's seat and you consciously, and here's the phrase, consciously force yourself to develop a bridge that gets you across that moment that is effective without causing harm, that's a good thing. And here's my classic phrase. A snack is always, 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 always an emotional event, not a nutritional event. A snack being calories that we consume outside of meals for our head. A snack is always an emotional event. So a snack is a mind-cleansing moment that causes caloric harm. Now, for most people, the snack is something that contains carbohydrates. The M&M, the pretzel, the little cookie. It's little things, and industry has given us those in little bite-sized pieces. The little candies, the little chocolates, the little M&Ms, the little Skittles. The way cookies are packed, the way crackers are packed, those are all drugs. Those are all drugs that we use for that mind-cleansing moment with harm on the back end. A bridge is a word I created for something that you can drink that doesn't cause caloric harm. So folks, if you know my story, when I was fat and I topped out at close to 300 pounds, I've lost about 106 pounds as I'm sitting here. My snack, my preferential snack, and you know this, well, what we addicts do is we surround, just like the smoker has that pack of cigarettes in their pocket, we surround ourselves with easy access to our drug of choice. And the old me, it was always every day a case of Coke and a big bag of, you know, that family-sized bag of M&Ms? I love to tell people, I was the family. And I'd have a little bit here with my Coke between patients, between surgeries, little bit. By the end of the day, I was typically drinking a case of Coke and a family-sized pack of M&Ms every day. And that was on top of my meals. There's my pack of cigarettes, or maybe 2 packs of cigarettes. And it's no magic that I was obese and metabolically unhealthy. It takes a lot of work to be fat. And when I started this journey, my final stage, in terms of treating this as an addiction, not a diet, I recognized that I needed that mind-cleansing moment, but I didn't need the crystal meth. So I consciously forced myself to look at and imagine what I could see myself having a relationship with. And that relationship in the US was with coffee. And where I come from South Africa, we drank a lot of tea, kind of more along the English system, tea. And there was always tea in the house. So tea and coffee were my bridge drinks. Now, I had to remove the sugar from the coffee. I have no issue, and I know those will argue with me, to put Splenda in there if you have to. And it doesn't have to be tea or coffee. It can be any form of sugar-free fluid. But then, and again, patients have given me this. There it is. A snack is always an emotional event. My carb addiction doc, and obviously the school that creates gray hair for me, Michigan, my alma mater, go blue. But I've got my sexy mug. And this one happens to contain something called Peak Tea, Piquet. It can be any tea. There's my mind cleansing moment. And that happens to be hot peak tea. But peak tea is something that obviously the manufacturers have sent it to me, and I like that because they get me to try it. I'm never going to endorse something that doesn't become part of my own life. But here's why I like peak tea. Any tea is fine. But carrying tea bags around with you is a liability because they break, they're miserable, they're difficult to have in restaurants and things. Here's what I like about peak tea. It can be consumed hot or cold. And the beauty is the way it's packaged. It's a refined powder it's pure tea that is packaged in this package. No different than my Relight salt that we carry everywhere. The electrolytes that I'll drink from time to time, especially been exercising. But this peak tea comes in a handy little package like this. So I can be in a restaurant, I can be anywhere. I can be drinking a bottle of water at my desk. And I can crack open one of these, pour it in, shake it up, or they've actually given me, I use it from time to time, a little handy dandy, I'm not going to break it out, a little thing that stirs it up for me. But I can shake it up in a bottle of water or use that little burr thing which I use to make my hot tea. The value of this, it tastes great, comes in different flavors, and I would urge you to get a box and try it and carry it around with you. Get in the habit. Ladies, having this in your purse, men carrying in your pocket. Here's a different flavor. And this one, as you can see, I've used quite a few out of this box. But this is what I use as a bridge. And again, I'm going to defend this. Don't ever be afraid to send me some bold coffee. A lot of my patients will bring in coffee. And again, I'm not begging or borrowing or stealing, but I love my coffee, and I'll mix in the tea and the coffee depending on how I am. Why the tea? Because the tea doesn't contain caffeine. And so after about 4 or 5 o'clock, I'll switch to tea, or I'll switch to chicken broth or some beef stock, because I don't have the calories. I can always add salt to this. I drink my coffee during the day, and I drink this as my bridge in the evenings. And for someone like myself, I'm OMAD, 1 meal a day, very often. I'll eat my dinner. I try to eat my dinner a little later in the evening, because my most vulnerable time for screwing up is between dinner and bedtime. And during that time, I'm very vulnerable to going to the fridge and snacking on a piece of cheese or snacking on a cold cut, not a carbohydrate, but it's still calories for my head, and I'm obesogenic. So when I walk past a piece of cheese, I'm going to gain 5 pounds. However, this tea, rooibos tea from South Africa, or beef broth or chicken broth, is an excellent bridge in that gap time where, as you've seen, I can sip on that tea to give me that space. But bridges are essential. I don't care what it is, but in recovery, that bridge is very important. Just like the smoker who crumples up the cigarettes, throws them away, puts gum in their pocket, exactly the same. And whether it's tea or coffee, and then the other thing I'll often have is a bridge. Now, it's a bridge plus. And the reason it's a bridge plus is there are times when I'm just dragging, when I'm a little down, when I'm a little flat, and I'm vulnerable to eating something. That's when I may do a ketone IQ. So I'll drink the peak tea if I'm doing great, but I need that little snack for emotional reasons. If I'm dragging a little bit, if my energy is a little bit down, I may hit a ketone IQ, because this plunges me into deep ketosis and helps me to cross that bridge. Usually I'll do the ketone IQ in the morning, or if I'm about to go for a run. So for example, sometimes after I put my son to bed and it's 9, 10 o'clock at night and I'm dragging, but I know I want to go for my run. My dog's eager, he's scratching at the door, he's ringing his bell at the door. Yeah, my dog's got a bell at the door that he rings when he wants to go out. And I have a rule in my life that the dog only goes out with me, I don't let him out by himself. So in the evenings when I'm dragging and I know I'm going to go for that run or that walk, I may hit a shot of the ketone IQ. So all of these things are bridges in my life that help me to sustain my mental health as a mind cleansing moment without causing me caloric harm. And I would urge you, as part of your recovery, to develop a relationship with a bridge drink. Because remember this, every single human being, if you're attentive, can be defined by the dominant thing that they do for their mind cleansing moment. And everybody has a dominant thing that we do. The religious person saying a prayer, the physically active person's bouncing around, the ADHD person, the sugar addict is bouncing around or having a snack, the smoker is looking for a time for a cigarette, the alcoholic's looking for something. Everybody has a quirk. And as part of recovery, as part of addiction management, as part of carb addiction management, it is changing that quirk. You've been in the passenger seat when you've been snacking, my Coke and my M&Ms, and I decided to switch across to the driver's seat of my own life, be in charge of my own life, and consciously force myself to develop this. And I've got rituals. I set up my coffee machine, I take my peak tea, I put it in my pocket. I know exactly where my bags are distributed around my office, distributed around my house. I'm proactive about defending myself from a relapse back to a snack by having my bridge items in my environment, just like a smoker has cigarettes placed all over the place, or a fat person has little snacky items out there. And if you're watching this video, whether you're in recovery, whether you've done well, whether you don't have a problem, look around you and see where your snack or your bridge is. But folks, developing a relationship with a bridge is critical to sustainability of this effect. And I can tell you one thing, don't you ever come between me and my coffee or my tea. I am the Carb Addiction Doc. If you're interested in a visit, if you're interested in this kind of help, if you're interested in breaking down your blood work, text or WhatsApp us 561 517-0642. If this has resonated with you, send us something. Okay? My address is on the internet, not my home address, my office address, or throw a buck or two at us. Ideally at our PayPal account. If this resonates with you, help me to keep it free. I am the Carb Addiction Doc. Like and subscribe to this video channel.